What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what shorts did, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go up 0.95%. A lot of volatility though, so it did have a low of $7.18, a high of $7.58. Tons of volume, so 81.3 million shares were traded, and I believe 101 is the average. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market, so a fair amount, some pretty big ones as well, so 7.18 million. You also have 11.8, and then right down here, so 1 and several others. So pretty good stuff. And then aside from that, starting today, I have been monitoring what is happening on the dark pool, and the only reason why I'm doing that is because of the manipulation that's been happening with SoFi, and there has been a ton of transactions that did occur. So you can kind of see it's almost around 250 transactions today being done on the dark pool. And the reason, again, I'm looking at this is largely because of this. So that recent news about that 750 million convertible note. I am bringing this up only because I was actually very much shocked by that. So that 2026 and as well as 2029 note did have that clause about the anti-dilutive properties. So in essence, that is horrible, absolutely horrible. So I've been covering SoFi for a very long time, and I've brought up saying that it's being manipulated, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's your answer. Single-handedly, it is because of that. Because technically, based on that clause, the lower the stock price that it goes, the more shares that can be issued. And so, of course, a lot of these entities that are the recipients of these notes have more of a financial benefit to destroy SoFi than versus their original investment. And beside the point though, once they do convert it and get more shares after tanking SoFi, this is where they could just raise the price up from there. So I see this as horrible, and the fact that SoFi did actually even put this clause in there, that is a crazy red flag to me. And once you get this kind of crap ingrained in your company, it is very difficult to get them out. So I'm very surprised and a little bit concerned essentially about SoFi's future, because this definitely is not good. Shorts are starting to still continue on their trend as I've been bringing up. So based on the trend that has been happening, just getting rid of all the unnecessary crap, they are starting to enter back into SoFi close to the SPAC levels. So today, in fact, they did increase 12.24 million shares. 18.83% of the free float is being shorted, and that works out to be 9 million shares being shorted. And just looking here, the cost to borrow average is 1.5 and utilization is 50.69%. So shorts definitely are jumping all over SoFi despite their relatively good earnings, because you don't know exactly how ingrained essentially they are. And plus, even SoFi continuing with those 2029 notes and still having that clause in there, like whoever is out there has a financial benefit of tanking SoFi. So it's just so messed up on many different levels. As far as options that was done today though, you can kind of see that there was a lot of money still getting in. So $14 million in calls being purchased versus 5.53 million in puts, but sentiment wise kind of evenly divided. So 45% of all the options being done today were optimistic and bullish. But whenever you do see typically shorts increasing to the extent that they were today, most of the call options are just hedged. So in case SoFi does trend up, then they are kind of covering their bases essentially. Looking here, of the call options that were being purchased, there's a consensus for it to be above around 750. So the optimism has just diminished like crazy. Even yesterday, there was a lot of anticipation for it to be $8 plus, but now it looks like it is around 750. And looking at the puts though, it is anticipated to be sub $7. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. But of the going into Friday though, especially with tomorrow and whatever else, technically the only strong support levels, or I guess self-made resistance levels brought on by options, is going to be at that 750 mark. So you're going to see once again SoFi probably struggling tomorrow to get above that 750, and then vice versa. There's around 19,000 in open interest at that $8. So SoFi is kind of just it is doing this to themselves. Unfortunately, you can't really blame anyone else other than SoFi and just their actions based on all of that. Going into tomorrow as as well though, so you really want to watch this 747. That has been a very strong pivot point for SoFi, and in fact it actually did close exactly on that. So right now some points to watch for is 747 and then $6.81. That is going to be the next strong support, and that kind of does match with this over here. So just to quickly go over here, I'll touch on technicals in a second. So there hasn't been any recent analyst ratings aside from Wedbush and KBW that did come out yesterday, but with that support points that I did mention, it matches with the L8 wave technicals. So it does have on the technicals a pivot point of 788, which of course right now SoFi is below. So for as long as SoFi is trading below that, then it is anticipated to get between this roughly 674 and 606. So there might be a pretty significant sell-off still potentially in SoFi's future, if that kind of makes sense. Just wanted to quickly go over here while I'm still on here. So latest Morningstar report still does show the fair market value for SoFi being around $14. But in my opinion, I do feel that it does need to be double digits. That's where it realistically should be. I don't think $14 is fair. So probably around the $10 range is more realistic, or 10 to 10.50, possibly even extending it to 11. But given the circumstances of everything, I'll take even 9 or possibly even 850 or something like that. But just to talk on the technicals for a second. So quickly going over here, just to pull this up, one moment. And so as you can kind of see right here, it is lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. It's been hugging that. Typically, whenever a stock does trade outside of that for a unjustified reason, this is where you kind of get a bounce up. But in SoFi's case, that didn't really happen. You didn't really have this upward momentum that would typically happen. So right now it's just lagging, a lot of volatility. So again, if you are an options trader, take advantage of those options. Definitely could be very beneficial. And over the last couple days, so about 3 days, just because of that sell-off that has completely reset a lot of the technicals. So stochastic RSI, you do see a underlying bearish deviation. So the orange line above the blue, but it is technically at 12. So that is considered very oversold. So if there is a good piece of news specific to SoFi, maybe in regards to the NBA or something like that, that could give it some nice justification to go up and incentivize value investors to get in. But right now it's just kind of stuck in limbo. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing? And what is your thoughts, for instance, on shorts increasing 12.24 million shares? Do you think that it is going to get back to the levels it previously was, which was roughly 21 to 22%? Or do you think it is going to trend down? What's your thoughts on all that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And one final thing, if you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.